All right, good morning, everybody. It's your boy Akeem here to give you a scout report on my top cornerback entering the 2016 NFL Draft. Talking about Vernon Hargreaves from Florida, had a great career as a Florida Gator and decided to come out as a junior. Now he's actually came from in-state from Tampa, Florida, and he was one of the top prospects coming out of high school. I remember his great performance in the ESPN Under Armour All-American game. He had a great game. I think he was MVP of that matchup, particularly on the defensive side. Now, it's not too often that a true freshman at Florida does it become a great standout, even as a true freshman. You have players like Emmitt Smith, Joe Hayden of the Cleveland Browns, so a couple of select few players that do well and be a standout as a true freshman. He actually earned first team All-SEC honors as a true freshman, as well as a couple other seasons during his career as a Florida Gator. Now, he's had a great career. He had 38 tackles as a true freshman and a freshman record 11 pass breakups, tying with then player Janoris Jenkins and 3 interceptions. And in 2014, he had 50 tackles, 13 pass breakups and 3 interceptions as well. This past season, his numbers did drop a little bit as far as the pass breakups, but he did have 4 interceptions but only 4 pass breakups in 2015, his junior year. Now, he is my top prospect coming out of this year's draft at the cornerback position, and I'm going to explain why with my strengths and weaknesses. First, his strengths. He definitely does a pretty good job as far as press coverage and lining up against opposing defensive players. Now, yes, he's a little bit shorter than most than the ideal guy that you want at 5'11", but he definitely plays like a big man, and he plays aggressive, and he never quits. He does a great job with that. He definitely has great acceleration to remain in the hip pocket of his receivers. Does a good job. Now, he does need to work on his spacing a little bit, which I'll talk about in just a second, but he has rare physicality for a guy of his size at 5'11", 204 pounds. Definitely has great strength, and he can be very aggressive, which is a great thing I do like about him. Now, he definitely has decent size for the position overall, even though he is 5'11", still a decent position. He has excellent hand-eye coordination to slap the ball away, as we know with the numbers that he has had. Now, he does have a couple weaknesses, though. His height, not the ideal height at 5'11". You kind of want a player at least like 6'1", 6'2", like Jalen Ransom from Florida State, who was probably most likely he's competing with for the #1 cornerback slot, but he still does a good job as far as for a man of his size. Now, one thing he does need to work on is his tackling technique. Sometimes he could over pursue players and try to swipe off a tackle off of the legs, and will actually completely miss off the legs and let defenders go ball carriers to go right by him. He needs to work on that. Now, I mentioned that he is an aggressive player, which is a thing I do like about him, but sometimes he could be a little bit too aggressive, in which he could even draw penalties, in which I even saw in the SEC championship against Alabama, where he got out of hand at the end of the game when Florida was pretty much lost the game. He kind of showed some frustration, and that drew some flags, but he needs to work on that just a little bit, but not really too much. Now, lastly, he does need to work on his spacing just a little bit. He does a great job as far as keeping space between him and opposing the receivers, but sometimes he could just get a little too carried away and kind of let the space kind of open up a little bit. Needs to do just a little bit of a better job tweaking that, but I think he's just fine. I think he's still a great prospect, and I am comparing him to Joe Hayden of the Cleveland Browns. Joe Hayden came out of Florida as well, and I think he's a great cornerback for the Browns, and I see the same thing in Hargreaves. He's been doing a great job even since coming out of high school. I noticed that in the All-American game of Under Armour. I thought he had a great game in that matchup, and I think he could be a good fit in the first round of this year's draft. The first 14 picks, he's actually one of the top 15 overall players for my overall projections, but I see him as at least a top 15 pick of this year's draft. Now, the next time I'm going to catch you guys will be actually on Tuesday, in which I will give you more blogs of scout reports. Thank you for watching today's reports. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.